Your first victory of the day, rising early. Let Stoic wisdom show you why. Most people wake up because they have to. The alarm blares and the race against time begins. But the Stoics, they woke up because they chose to. There's a profound difference between starting your day out of obligation and beginning it out of intention. In today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, it's easy to let the morning slip by in a blur of snooze buttons, rushed routines, and digital distractions. Before we know it, we've surrendered control of our most precious resource, time. When I first decided to adopt the habit of waking up early, it wasn't about productivity hacks or squeezing more tasks into my day. It was about reclaiming my mornings. The Stoic principle of control, what you can, resonated deeply with me. My mornings were the one part of the day I had total authority over. No meetings, no emails, no unexpected demands, just me, my thoughts, and the opportunity to shape the mindset that would carry me through the next 24 hours. Marcus Aurelius, Rome's philosopher-emperor, often reminded himself to rise early. Not because he loved leaving the comfort of his bed, but because he recognized that the struggle itself, choosing discipline over ease, was the first victory of the day. His writings reveal a man who understood that mastering the morning meant mastering oneself. When you control your mornings, you send a powerful message to your subconscious: I am in charge. You stop reacting to the day and start commanding it. Over time, this mindset doesn't just change your mornings. It transforms how you approach challenges, setbacks, and even triumphs. I discovered that the morning isn't just a time slot, it's a statement. Rising early became my daily affirmation that I wasn't a passive participant in life. I was an active creator of it. If you've ever felt like life is happening to you instead of for you, reclaiming your mornings can be the first step to flipping that narrative. The habit of waking up early isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about saying, today I choose how I will begin, and that simple choice can redefine everything. For most of my adult life, I wasn't a morning person. In fact, I proudly wore the title of night owl. I told myself, and anyone who would listen, that my creativity peaked at midnight and that mornings were for people who hadn't discovered the magic of the snooze button. But deep down, I knew that was just an excuse. Most mornings started in chaos. My alarm would blare, I'd slap the snooze button, sometimes 2 or 3 times, and before I knew it, I was rushing out the door. Breakfast was whatever I could grab on the go, and my mind was already racing with emails, deadlines, and the weight of the day ahead. I felt like I was always behind. I wasn't living my day, I was surviving it. Then, something shifted. During a particularly stressful period, work pressures piling up, relationships strained, my health taking a back seat, I came across a quote from Marcus Aurelius. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. It hit me like a bolt of lightning. What if I wasn't just failing to wake up early? What if I was failing to value the opportunity that each morning gave me? That's when I made the decision, not to become a morning person, but to become a person who took ownership of my day. I set my alarm for 5:30 a.m., not because it sounded fun, but because it was a challenge, a test of will. The first few days were brutal. I felt groggy, disoriented, and questioned why I was putting myself through this. But then, something remarkable began to happen. The quiet of the early hours became my sanctuary. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting to the world. I was preparing for it. I started with small rituals, stretching, a cup of coffee enjoyed without rush, a few moments of meditation. Eventually, I added journaling and light exercise. Those early hours became a foundation, not just for my productivity, but for my peace of mind. And each time I resisted the urge to stay in bed, I reminded myself of the Stoic principle: control what you can. I couldn't control the challenges waiting for me later in the day, but I could control how I started my morning. That choice alone changed everything. When I first explored the Stoic principle of control what you can, it sounded simple enough. Almost too simple. Of course, I thought, I know what I can control and what I can't. But like many people, I only understood this on the surface. In reality, I wasted a lot of energy worrying about things far beyond my influence. The economy, traffic, other people's opinions, even the weather. My mornings were the biggest example of this. For years, I let external forces dictate how my day started. If traffic was bad, I got frustrated. If my boss emailed me early, my anxiety spiked. If I woke up tired, I blamed my alarm clock or my schedule. But the Stoics, especially Epictetus, taught something radically different. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. When I began waking up early, I realized the morning was the one part of my day where I held absolute control. Before the world demanded anything from me, before texts, calls, meetings, or social media notifications, I had complete ownership of my time and my mindset. Marcus Aurelius, even as the ruler of Rome, would rise before dawn to meditate on what he could and couldn't control. He wrote in his meditations, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." He wasn't just motivating himself to wake up. He was reminding himself that the discipline of rising early was an act of self-mastery. It was the first victory of the day. When I stopped blaming circumstances and started focusing on what I could control, my wake-up time, my morning mindset, my first actions, everything changed. No longer was I at the mercy of the day's chaos. I became proactive, not reactive. Each morning became a practice in Stoic discipline. I couldn't control how the rest of the day unfolded, but I could control how it began, and in that choice, I found freedom. True freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's mastering yourself in the face of whatever life throws at you. I'm just not a morning person. I used to say that with a sense of pride, like it was a part of my identity, and I wasn't alone. Friends, co-workers, and even productivity gurus often repeated the same idea, that some people are wired to thrive at night, while others naturally shine in the morning. Science does acknowledge that we all have different chronotypes, meaning our biological clocks can vary. But somewhere along the way, we stopped using this as a guideline and started using it as an excuse. The Stoics would have called this what it truly is, a preferred indifference. In Stoicism, things like wealth, comfort, or in this case, sleep. Preferences are preferred indifference, meaning sure, they might make life easier or more comfortable, but they don't dictate whether you live a good and virtuous life. Marcus Aurelius didn't get to say, "Sorry, Rome, I'm not a morning emperor." Epictetus didn't tell his students, "I'd love to teach, but I'm a night owl." These thinkers believed in the power of choice over comfort. When I challenged my own belief about not being a morning person, I discovered it wasn't biology holding me back. It was habit and fear. Fear of discomfort, fear of losing my late-night routines, fear of change itself. But Stoicism teaches that we grow not by clinging to what feels natural or easy, but by willingly facing discomfort for the sake of self-mastery. Don't seek what is easy, Seneca wrote. Seek what makes you stronger. So I stopped telling myself that waking up early was impossible. Instead, I asked a better question. Would waking up early help me become the person I want to be? The answer was clear. The first few weeks were challenging. I felt the pull of my old identity every time the alarm rang, but each time I resisted the snooze button. I wasn't just waking up earlier, I was practicing the Stoic virtue of discipline. Over time, the discomfort faded. What replaced it was not just extra hours in the day, but a deeper belief. I was capable of change, and that's the real myth to break. Not that some people are morning people and others aren't, but that we are forever bound by the patterns we've followed in the past. We're not. Stoicism reminds us that identity is a choice we make, not a sentence we serve. Before I became an early riser, mornings were nothing more than a blur. An alarm, a rush, a commute, noise, stress, hustle. But the first time I truly embraced waking before the world, something extraordinary happened. I stepped out onto my balcony just as the sun was beginning to rise. The sky was a quiet canvas of deep blues and soft orange. The streets were empty. No emails, no notifications, no expectations, just stillness. For the first time, I understood what the Stoics meant by ataraxia, a state of inner tranquility untouched by the chaos of the outside world. Most of us spend our days responding to work, to family, to social media, to crises both large and small. We rarely get a moment to simply exist without reacting. But in the early hours, before the world wakes up, that's exactly what you get. A space to just be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "People look for retreats for themselves, in the country, by the sea, in the mountains, but nowhere can you find a more peaceful retreat than in your own mind." Mornings, I discovered, became my physical and mental retreat. I began to appreciate not just the extra time, but the quality of time. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of possibility. In those quiet moments, I could stretch without feeling rushed. I could sip my coffee and actually taste it. I could meditate without interruption. More importantly, I could think, deep, unhurried. Thinking is rare these days, but the Stoics knew its value. Before Marcus Aurelius led armies or governed an empire, he sat in quiet contemplation, asking himself what kind of man he wanted to be that day. Following his example, I started a practice of morning reflection. Not complicated, just a simple question. What virtue will I focus on today? Patience, courage, temperance, wisdom. This single act grounded me. No matter what the day brought, stressful meetings, unexpected setbacks, or even moments of triumph, I returned to that morning intention. Over time, I noticed something else. When you begin your day with calm and purpose, that energy carries forward. You respond to challenges with clarity instead of panic. You communicate thoughtfully. You make decisions with confidence. The peace you cultivate before the world wakes doesn't stay behind. It follows you everywhere. Waking up early is a start, but what you do with those early hours, that's where the real transformation happens. When I first began rising early, I made a mistake a lot of people make. I filled my mornings with tasks, emails, to-do lists, even cleaning. I thought productivity was the goal, but the Stoics taught me otherwise. Morning isn't just about getting more done. It's about setting the tone for who you'll be that day. So I restructured my mornings with purpose. Not just actions, but intentional practices rooted in Stoic philosophy. Here's how. Step 1. Gentle movement. The body must be trained, Seneca wrote, not pampered. I started each morning with light stretching or a short walk. Nothing extreme, just enough to wake my body and remind myself that discipline begins with movement. Step 2. Reflection or meditation. Marcus Aurelius spent his early hours reflecting. I followed suit. For 10 minutes, I sat in quiet meditation or wrote in a journal. I'd ask myself, What challenge might I face today, and how will I respond with virtue? This practice wasn't about avoiding problems. It was about preparing my mindset to meet them with courage and patience. Step 3. Morning. Journaling, inspired by meditations. I kept a small journal. I wrote 3 things: what I was grateful for, what I could not control today, my virtue focus, e.g., temperance, wisdom, courage. This wasn't a diary. It was a blueprint for resilience. Step 4. Setting intentions, not tasks. Instead of starting my to-do list, I asked, who do I want to be today? If a challenge arose, would I remain calm? If someone tested my patience, could I respond with understanding? By choosing intention over reaction, I empowered myself to lead my day instead of chasing it. Step 5. Mindful nourishment. I prepared my breakfast slowly, without screens or distractions. Even this became an act of Stoic mindfulness, appreciating the simple act of eating without rushing or multitasking. The goal wasn't to cram my mornings with success habits. It was to align my actions with my values before the world had a chance to pull me off course. This routine became more than a schedule. It became a daily declaration. I control my response. I choose my actions. I lead my life. Even with a perfect morning routine, no day goes exactly as planned. Traffic jams, negative emails, unforeseen crises. That's life. But the Stoics didn't just accept this. They prepared for it. They practiced Premeditatio Malorum, which means the premeditation of evils. Each morning, they imagined what could go wrong. Not to be negative or anxious, but to prepare their minds and strengthen their resilience. When I first heard about this practice, it sounded almost superstitious. Why would I dwell on bad things that might never happen? But I quickly realized it wasn't about dwelling, it was about rehearsing my response. So I added Premeditatio Malorum to my morning routine. After my journaling, I'd take a few minutes to ask myself, what might go wrong today? Could an important meeting get cancelled? Might someone criticize my work? Could I encounter delays, bad news, or personal frustrations? Then, the critical question, how will I respond in line with my virtues? If the meeting was cancelled, I'd practice patience and flexibility. If criticism came, I'd accept it calmly and learn. If delays or frustrations arose, I'd focus on temperance and understanding. This simple habit changed everything. Instead of being blindsided by problems, I met them with a sense of readiness. They stopped feeling like personal attacks and started feeling like opportunities to practice the virtues I had chosen that morning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly, but none of them can harm me." That wasn't cynicism, that was wisdom. By expecting human imperfections, he became unshakable. One day, after adopting this practice, my car broke down on the way to work. Instead of cursing my luck or panicking, I took a deep breath and reminded myself, I knew things like this might happen, and I've already decided how I will respond, with calm and problem-solving, not anger. That moment of composure didn't just save my morning, it reinforced the mindset I was building. Premeditatio Malorum isn't about fearing the future, it's about becoming stronger than it. At first I thought waking up early would only impact my mornings. Get up early, feel less rushed, maybe get a head start on emails. Simple, but I was wrong. The effects didn't stop at breakfast. They rippled outward, touching every hour of my day in ways I hadn't imagined. One of the first changes I noticed was mental clarity. When I began my day intentionally, stretching, journaling, reflecting, I carried that clear mindset into my work. I stopped jumping from task to task in a reactive frenzy. Instead, I approached each responsibility with focus and purpose. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Starting my mornings with intention reminded me who I wanted to be before the day's demands could shape me into someone else. The second ripple was emotional resilience. In the past, small annoyances would derail my mood. Traffic, a critical email, a rude comment. Any of these could send me into frustration or anxiety. But after consistently practicing my Stoic morning routine, I found myself responding differently. I remembered my morning reflections. I reminded myself of my chosen virtues: patience, temperance, courage. Instead of reacting emotionally, I paused. I chose my response. This shift didn't make problems disappear, but it made me feel empowered, not victimized. The third ripple effect was perhaps the most surprising: better relationships. By starting my day grounded and calm, I became more present with others. My conversations felt deeper. I listened better. I responded with understanding instead of impatience. Even conflicts became opportunities to practice Stoic principles like empathy and rationality. One day, a colleague at work made a mistake that caused extra work for my team. In the past, I might have snapped or complained, but that morning, my journal entry had focused on practicing patience and compassion. So instead of lashing out, I said, "Let's figure out how to fix this together." That response strengthened our working relationship and solved the problem faster than blame ever could. By mastering my mornings, I wasn't just adding productive hours to my day. I was reshaping how I thought, felt, and interacted with the world. And the best part? These changes compounded over time. Each day built on the last, transforming not just how I started my day, but how I lived my life. When people hear about my early morning routine, they often say, "That's great for you, but I could never do it." Trust me, I understand. Before I embraced waking up early, I had a list of excuses that felt ironclad. I'm not a morning person. I go to bed too late. My family's schedule doesn't allow it. I've tried before and it never sticks. But as the Stoics teach, obstacles are not the end of the path. They are the path. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. Let's break down the most common challenges and how Stoic wisdom can help overcome them. Challenge 1. I can't fall asleep early. Stoic response. Control what you can. Start by setting a consistent wake-up time, even if you sleep late at first. Over time, your body will adjust. Focus on preparing your mind for rest. Minimize screens at night, create a calming bedtime ritual, and accept that change takes patience. Challenge 2. I don't have enough willpower. Stoic response. Willpower grows through action, not waiting. Epictetus reminded his students that discipline is like a muscle. You strengthen it by using it. Start small. Wake up just 15 minutes earlier than usual. Success builds confidence, and confidence builds stronger habits. Challenge 3. My schedule is unpredictable. Stoic response. Adapt, but stay consistent where you can. Life is chaotic. Children get sick. Work emergencies arise. The goal isn't perfection, but persistence. On busy days, even a few minutes of quiet reflection or stretching can maintain the habit and reinforce your mindset. Challenge 4. I tried before and failed. Stoic response. Failure is feedback, not defeat. Seneca taught that setbacks are simply part of the growth process. Reflect on why past attempts didn't work. Adjust your approach. Progress is not linear, and no failure is final unless you quit trying. Challenge 5. I'll start tomorrow. Stoic response. Tomorrow is not promised. Memento mori. Remember death. Life is unpredictable. Waiting for the perfect time often means waiting forever. The best moment to reclaim your mornings and your mindset is now. Excuses will always come knocking. The Stoic chooses whether to answer. I wasn't naturally disciplined. I built discipline by confronting these exact excuses over and over until they lost their power. And if I could do it, so can you. There's a saying, win the morning, win the day. But for me, waking up early became about something much bigger than winning the day. It became about winning my mind. The ancient Stoics didn't wake up early because they wanted to check more boxes or accomplish more tasks. They did it because rising early was an act of sovereignty, proof that they ruled over their own impulses, not the other way around. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of Rome with unimaginable pressures, still reminded himself to rise early, not because it was easy, but because discipline at the start of the day shaped the mindset for everything that followed. The first victory is over yourself, he believed. All other victories come after. When I embraced early mornings, I wasn't just giving myself more time. I was declaring to the world and to myself that I chose how my day would begin. Not my alarm clock, not my job, not my calendar, me. Over time, this simple habit became a reflection of deeper Stoic values: temperance, resisting the urge to stay in bed for comfort; courage, facing the discomfort of change; wisdom, recognizing the power of small, consistent choices; justice, using my mornings not just for personal gain, but to better serve others throughout the day. The transformation wasn't just practical, it was philosophical. Each early morning became a practice in becoming who I wanted to be, a person who leads their own life with clarity, purpose, and resilience. So, if you're standing at the edge of this journey, wondering if you can wake up earlier, reflect on this. It's not about the hour on the clock. It's about the message you send to yourself every morning. I am capable of growth. I am willing to choose what is hard today for a better tomorrow. This is not just a habit. It's a commitment to rise above comfort, a commitment to rise above excuses, a commitment to rise above the noise and expectations of the world. Rise above, starting with tomorrow's morning. Rising early isn't just about chasing productivity or ticking off another self-help box. It's a daily act of resistance, a bold statement that you will meet life on your own terms, with discipline, clarity, and courage. Every morning you rise by choice, not by chance. You affirm one of the deepest Stoic truths. You are not here to be ruled by impulse or circumstance. You are here to rule yourself. No matter how chaotic the world becomes, you can always claim the first victory of the day, the victory over yourself. And from that small, quiet triumph flows a life of strength, virtue, and peace. The question is not whether you can rise early. The question is, will you choose to rise above? Take the Stoic Morning Challenge. Here's how to start. Wake up just 15 minutes earlier than usual tomorrow. Spend 5 minutes reflecting. What virtue will I live by today? Choose calm over chaos. Discipline over distraction. Do it for 7 days. Watch what happens. When you rise each morning with purpose, you don't just change your schedule, you change your soul. Comment, I rise below if you're ready to take command of your mornings and your life. Let's build something unshakable starting tomorrow.